It's Friday! Let's talk about grading the Minnesota Wild during the pause. Now, before I get started, I just want to ask you to please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, which will alert you when my next video comes out, which will be about the LA Kings. Now, the last team I graded was the Montreal Canadiens there. I've been shooting these videos in reverse alphabetical order, and I'll throw up a few of those clubs up here for you to click on over the next few minutes for your viewing pleasure. Now, the Wild. I had a real soft spot for the Minnesota North Stars when I was a kid. Remember Craig Ludwig and those massive shin pads? That's what I had to wear when I was in hockey in high school. Now, lots of changes, sort of, in terms of the GM. Anyways, every year it's a new guy. Cliff Fletcher was fired. Now he's in Philly. Fenton spent just over a year here, made some questionable deals, and some good ones that have turned out good, Fiala being one of them. And now Guerin is in, former assistant of the Pittsburgh Penguins and former Pittsburgh Penguins player / Washington Capitals. And maybe another one I'm missing there. And he hasn't really been doing a lot of shaking and moving. But he did make one key trade, and that was, of course, the Galchenyuk, Jason Zucker trade. Pittsburgh got Zucker, and the Wild got Galchenyuk. Okay, third line-ish, fourth line-ish kind of center whose career is going, we don't know where right now. Cale Addison is a good defensive prospect. He slides into number 5 in that ranking on their top 10 prospects by the Hockey News. Overall, they're ranked 24th in the league, by the way. And they got a conditional first-round pick out of the deal. And they dumped some money. So I think that was a win-win. That was a smart move. And now, where do we go from here? I was really hoping that before the trade deadline, they would hawk off some of their veterans, get some more draft picks, and officially, finally, retool this team, like what the Rangers are doing. But no. And I understand why. Obviously, they're only 1 point out of a playoff spot right now. You can't just unload your whole half of your team when you're doing this well, or you're so close. Anyways, I think that's more of an appropriate phrasing. But this is the same old story for years now. They either just miss the playoffs or they just get in and they get killed once they get there. Now, they fired Bruce Boudreau late in the season in February, and the team got a little bit better. You know, they had a little bump from it, but that happens to most teams when a coach gets fired too, right? I didn't understand why they just didn't keep him to the end of the season and just do it then. Maybe Boudreau, the team had won 7 of the last 11 when he got fired. So they were doing well. So you can't say, well, the team needed a new look because we wanted to make the playoffs. They were on their way. Unless he had the opposite thinking, he wanted this team to bottom out so he could sell some players before the deadline, because I think the firing happened around February 14th, I want to say. But that didn't work out either. And the assistant coach, the interim coach, who was the assistant coach, happens to be Boudreau's old buddy, who he worked with in Washington, was his assistant there too for about, I want to say, 4 or so years. Anyway, let's get down to the record. Now, they started off the season really poorly, and then did really well for a couple of months, and then sort of evened out and finished off well. They won their last game of the season. We're 7-3-0 in their last 10. They sit with 77 points right now. They're just 1 point out of a wild card spot, but there's 2 teams ahead of them, Vancouver and Nashville. Nashville owning that last wild card spot there. In the Central Division, there are just too many good teams there right now, which is why I didn't even think they would come this close at this time when I did my previews before the beginning of the season. But let's talk about some stats right now, starting with their special teams. Their power play, it's 11th. Their penalty kill, it's 25th. Wins, they're 17th. Their points, they're 21st. Their power play is 11th. That always shocks me with this team because they have They've had such a hard time scoring. Their goals for is 14th. Goals against is 22nd. Shots against, 11th in the league. Shots for, 25th in the league. Face-off win percentage sucks. It's 27th. Dean Emerson is the interim head coach right now. I had a hard time remembering his name. Now, Guerin, I thought was a good choice for a GM. I mean, he only got one trade, so it's hard to grade him on everything yet. But he did have a strange choice of words right after Boudreau was fired. He said something like, "It's not just one loss. It's not 1 week. It's a series of things." Okay, yeah, that makes sense. We have shown that we can be one of the best teams in the league, or the so-called best teams in the league. I think in some of the tighter game situations, we could be a little bit better. I agree with that last little part there, but one of the best teams in the league? Maybe in the last 11 games, which Boudreau won 7 of. Context, man! It's just a strange thing, I thought, for him to say. The injuries. The only lingering one they have right now is the Carson Soucy, their bottom left-hand shot defender. He's still on the IR, although he was only supposed to be out for 2 to 4 weeks. Now, he's 25 years old, and in 58 games, he's got 15 points, and is a plus 16. One of the best on the team. He averages 15.38 a game, and is 6'5", 210 pounds. Yeah. Now let's talk about the players, starting with the goaltenders. Devan Dubnyk has been a starting goaltender for years now. He's on the last year of his contract, which is paying him just over $4.3 million. In 30 games this season, he had an .890 save percentage. Yikes. Last year in 67 games, a .913. The season before that, in 60 games, a .918. He's on the decline. I think it's safe to say that. Maybe he'll be more of a backup next year because Statlock, who is technically their backup, has played more games. Has played 38 games. Has better than average NHL average save percentage. In 38 games, has a .910. Now, the season before that, he's had an .899. Season before that, he had a .910. So it's, flip a coin with him. But, yeah. Now, one of their goaltending prospects, their most promising one, Kaapo Kähkönen, he's ranked number 7 on their prospect list. He actually did pretty well. He came up for only 5 games, but had a .913 save percentage. And in 34 games in the AHL, he's got a .927. So, can he crack the lineup next year? Maybe if they trade one of their goaltenders, because they're paying Statlock he is signed for the next 2 seasons at like $785,000. Wow, that's a great deal for that kind of for a .910 save percentage. I think anyone would take that. Now, moving on to the defense. Let's start with their 4 top scorers. Their first being Ryan Suter, who was actually second on the team in scoring. Now, when your defenseman is second on the team in scoring, his name should be like John Carlson or something. He should have like 70-plus points. He's got 48 points, and he's second in scoring. Yep. Now, he's 35 years old, if you didn't already know that. Left shot defender, played all 69 games, 8 goals, 48 points, -6, 24-38, most on the team for average ice time. Spurgeon is second on this list. He usually plays shotgun with Suter. He's 30 years old, and 62 games. He's got 12 goals, 32 points, not bad. -1, 22-34, one of the most underrated two-way defensemen in the league. Then there's Broden, who plays next to Dumba most of the time. He's 26 years old. He's young. 69 games. He's got 2 goals, 28 points, +15. Best on the team, averaging 21-33 a night. Matthew Dumba. What happened to Matthew Dumba? The right shot star defender. He's only 25, youngest on the team. And in 69 games, 6 goals, 24 points, -7. Tied for worst on the team in the plus-minus category, averaging 22-30 a night. Now, the forwards. Let's talk about their top 4 scoring forwards. Number 1, Kevin Fiala. that deal sure turned out. Fenton did something right, sending Granlund the other way to Nashville. He's only 23 years old, too. Finally bouncing back in 64 games, 23 goals, 54 points to lead the team. He's a -1, not bad for playing top-line minutes, which is only like 15-24 a night, by the way. Then there's Eric Staal, arguably their first-line center, 35 years old. In 66 games, he's got 19 goals, 47 points. Kind of what have I expected of him? That's not a bad season for him either. -9 and averaging 17.08 a game. Third is Zach Parise, and he's 35 as well. In 69 games, no injuries this season. Impressive. 25 goals. I want to say that's the most on the team. I should recheck that. 25 goals, 46 points, and he was a -11 though. Averaging 17-12 in ice time a night. And, yep, that is the most on the team. Now, there's only one other guy who scored 20 more goals, and I already mentioned his name, Fiala. That's part of the problem. I mean, Eric Staal did have 19, but, yeah. Now, fourth on the team in scoring is Matt Zuccarello. He's 32 years old. Another older player signed to a long contract. Oh, my God. Don't get me wrong. He's a good player, but he's a complimentary piece, like Phil Kessel was to the Pittsburgh Penguins. You don't bring him in when the team should be retooling. Anyway, I'm not going to get on that rant. He's got 15 goals and 37 points this season. He's a -9, averages 15.56 a night. Some other forwards I want to talk about. The forgotten Victor Rask. He's been scratched for multiple games this season. He's only played 43. That was, one of... At the time, it was such a bad trade for the Wild. Kind of still is, really. Nina Ryder went to the Hurricanes and had a terrific... Finished the rest of the season really well. Hasn't done too well this season, though. But I digress. In 43 games, he's got 5 goals, 13 points. He's a +7, though. This is the first time he's ever been a plus player in the NHL. So, hey, glass half full. Now, I also wanted to mention Ryan Donato really quickly. He's basically playing fourth-line minutes every game. Remember, he was in the Charlie Coyle deal from Boston in 62 games this year. 14 goals and 23 points. He's a +5. 14 goals for a fourth liner is pretty good. They do. It seems like they have some balanced scoring, which is why they're 14th in the league in goals for. So there's that. Now, I also wanted to touch on Galchenyuk, who came over in the Jason Zucker deal. He's a UFA at the end of the season. He was making $4.9 million. In 14 games for the Wild, he's got 3 goals, 7 points, +2. If he resigns, it's probably going to be for less than half the money. And he's kind of fit in with Minnesota so far on that third line spot. Does it continue? We shall see. And lastly, Mikko Koivu. He's Gandalf is 37 years old, 6'3", 213 pounds. He was getting paid $5.5 a year, so that'll come off the books. That's a good thing. In 55 games, he's playing fourth line center mostly this season. He has 4 goals, 21 points, +2. He also plays on the penalty kill. It's probably one of the reasons Ryan Donato has got such a positive number in the plus-minus category. Thank you so much for joining me. Oh, I got to grade the team. I can't forget that. I'm going to give him a B-. So there you have it. Minnesota fans, especially, I would love to hear what your grade would be down in the comment section down below. And thank you, everyone, for all your support. Please don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And please take care of each other out there. And if you can, stay at home. Thanks again. See you soon.